It's ridiculous how long
I
Restream
should just be
takes.
eating my dinner right now. I'm like, are we all yet?
That's right.
Yeah.
Because the whole reason for doing scat before every episode is so that Restream picks up our audio. And now I rewatched the last episode so I can remember exactly his phrase to you. So we could start off there. And I'm like, it caught like the last two syllables of my scat, and that's it. So now we're like 30 seconds in. So I'm assuming they're just hearing me now. Um, but
Wait. Now.
now. So we'll get back to scatting at some point. We just have to figure out the timing so frickin' Restream picks up our audio. What is going on, Restream? I mean, I know my voice is annoying, but you know, I am not paying for your free service, so I expect that level of quality. Oh, by the way, this is Karandrin role playing. I don't know if you're interested or whatever, but this is it. Yeah, this is episode 95 of Karandrin role playing. Episode 95 specifically of Brise's Tale, which is fantastic and exciting. And my name is Kevin Manus Pennings, and I'm your host and your game master for this episode 95 of Brise's Tale. And my good buddy Max, as always, is here with us to play Brise, the young paladin. Max, say hello to the lovely people.
Hey, everybody. Session 95. That's crazy. It's crazy close to 100.
It is.
It's exciting.
It really is. We're going to hit a big 100. It's gonna be kind of cool. I don't know what's gonna happen exactly in all of that. Oh my lord, Midnight Dawn just called us very annoying in the
Very
chat, which feels like a personal attack. Midnight Dawn says that Max is her favorite.
Oh, wonderful. I appreciate that.
I won't go
not
into,
a high bar, but especially when there's only two people.
but I won't go into Midnight Dawn and my personal history. But let's just say that it was deeply sexual and completely unsatisfying. Let's just leave it there. And anyway, welcome everybody. This is episode 95, as we've said. Dearest Brise, our female paladin, she has been exploring this ancient and long abandoned temple, periodically abandoned temple, in a largely uninhabited valley. And we
Midnight Dawn says, what? You're right. I think it was actually very satisfying. I'm sorry. No more.
That's right. That's right. Brise had been exploring the northern parts of this temple. The temple is in a valley, as we said. It's built up against and up into one of the steeper hills in this valley, and there had been numerous rock slides on that northern side, and it's basically brought the third floor just down. The third, oh, sorry, the first and second floors just down. I mean, those rooms are exposed to the elements and so on, and some of the rooms are just buried in rubble, and Brise has wisely chosen to skip those. So, in sort of just looking over this cross section of the temple, we see a very strange figure who 7 to 8 feet high, sort of a brownish coarse skin, 7, maybe 8 fingers on each hand with short claws. I'll add a detail that we sort of skipped over, and that is it's double thumbed. The hands are double thumbed, a thumb on each side.
Oh, interesting.
The figure is wearing some form of robe. Doesn't seem overly burdened with things. We observe this being. It has a very broad head, as broad as its shoulders, very broad and flat, no visible eyes, 2 narrow nostrils down the top. Eyes do periodically emerge from its skull. maybe too soft to be called a skull, but from the
Interior.
interior, right, of its head, they emerge orb-like on the top of this plateau of a head. But it seems to be able to see even without them. It seemingly has the ability to become translucent, and while translucent, there seems to be a sort of a heavy mist that falls from it,
Mm-hmm.
and it gets dissipated somewhat by the wind. We observed it. Then it also has a set of beads that it sort of plays with. We don't know what that is. Sort of like a large rosary,
Right.
but with different geometric shapes. They're not uniform. We also know that it has the ability to summon some sort of almost like a pane in the air, like a opening a window, and it seemingly peers through it with these bulbous eyes that emerge, and seems to really peer very steadily deeper into the valley, and then that disappeared. Um, it did briefly become opaque to eat
Mm-hmm.
some of these small lizard creatures that are crawling around these. That must be the offspring of a larger creature that we've already heard rumors about. This large horse-sized six-limbed lizard. Um, so, oh look, it's Quinn. Hey, Quinn.
Hey,
Um,
Quinn.
so,
We ended
um,
the last session with trying to sneak up on this guy and maybe give him a bit of a surprise, but he saw us coming and was able to speak with us. So we're gonna start off with a nice conversation, a nice "How do you
you
do?"
hope a nice conversation. So, yeah, so you sort of so it seemed to lay down on top of a very ornate desk
Mm-hmm.
that was in this room. So apparently, some sort of priest's office, something like that. It laid down on this desk as though to nap. You took that opportunity then to levitate up to the second floor from the rubble of the rock slide, sneak around, and then creep through the door of the office, to confront it.
Mm-hmm.
And there, it was waiting on you, holding this long, sort of knobbly, black-handled thing that comes with a large bulbous end that are clearly toothed sort of jaws that kind of loosely hang together. Um, and as you emerged, it said in its very strange accent, but in perfectly understandable Thax, Thax being the nation, the language of the Manish nation to the west. It said, "What is it that you want from me?" There's definitely a sense of it being alert,
Mm-hmm.
like at the ready.
Right. I've got Nalani on my shoulder,
Okay.
and we also know from the last episode for all our viewers, Nalani is a little injured. I guess doing better now, but we still want to be careful about pushing her too far.
Right. This is the familiar falcon that he's had for some weeks now, that Brise has had for some weeks now. And yeah, she came very close to death 2 sessions back, I guess. Maybe it was just last session. Um, and yeah, it's been an interesting thing. As always, I've just posted the notes, Max's notes, character sheet, and everything, and our links to various things of interest, and so you can follow along as he's actually typing notes, as Max is, and you can scroll up and down and see what you might have missed that we've not covered. All right, Max,
Yeah, I'll,
remind me what's in your hand.
I've
It's
got my spear in hand, spear and shield, and I'll address him also in Thax, and just be plain and to the point. As I say that I'm here on higher authority to clean out this ancient temple of any foreign creatures like yourself. Um, but by no means does it have to be violently. I add.
Except for Kevin's a jerk. Um, the creature says, "The authority. I am from the authority. Do not lie to me. I may be new to your world, but I am by no means new to deception."
I ask him, what authority do you refer to? I refer to, I guess it'd be, the local lord and the gods they serve.
I speak of the only authority that matters, the university, the universal, the great. There is no other authority before that. I am from the authority of she who creates, and I will be with the authority until he who comes to destroy finishes creation. And it is on that business that I am here. And I recognize no other authority. I am Galkakik, and I do not recognize your authority.
How and will remain so. Um,
Is it
I
not known to you and your peoples here in this backward land that Obreve is going to grace this very valley with her presence? You seem glum and wary for one to be so blessed to live in such a time.
I say, would you mind explaining to me why I am blessed and who this Ogrieve is?
It is she who creates. It is she who created you, who created these hills, these valleys, these delicious lizard creatures.
Through grace, and she is coming to this valley. You say.
It is her visitation. All the calculations point to this time, this place. Perhaps we are off by a few sunrises, but it will be soon. And the rest of the authority will come to witness her visitation.
Hmm. Um, Time to
Nothing will
sharp
stand in our way, not your spear, not your shield.
few days until. So just okay. So I guess Obreve is. I ask, is Obreve your god then?
Obreve is your god.
How can you know the the time and location that where your god visits? You know,
There are texts. There is the Pentateuch, which we study constantly.
guys from Futurama. What the heck? The Cenotuk studies.
All the signs are here. This will be at least the second visitation of Obreve to your world. Was there not at that time great celebration?
What hmm, what I mean, I tell him, I don't know if he even measures time in the same way we do. I say, how many years ago was that first visitation?
I do not know. The records of your world are not very clear.
Hmm.
He says, "Let me consult the Pentateuch." Roll for me.
92.
You see him work one of the beads. He carefully moves down. He doesn't look at them. His hand just instinctively goes to one. You see him work it, and that pain that sort of weird, translucent, hazy pain
Yeah.
opens again. This time, his bulbous eyes do not emerge. He simply looks across the pane. He looks up. I've got to do the math now in my head. 3,845 sunrises ago.
3,840 sunrises.
To the south, in a place known as the Black Bay by your people, in your language. The Black Bay, you know, is in the very south of Theaxia. It's several hundred miles away.
Hmm.
There, the authority entered your world on many, many ships. You're gonna what?
You can't see. I pulled a calculator up as a joke, but I did. You can't see it on the screen because I'm not sharing it.
You should you should share screen.
38,000.
You should share screen of your calculator and actually type in the numbers.
Oh man. Okay. So near the Black Bay. Sorry, what was the last? Probably when you said near the Black Bay. It was
Uh,
around.
they arrived. The authority arrived on many,
Right.
many great ships to observe the visitation.
Okay. Is that like, I don't know, I guess off the top of my head, 38,000 divided by 365. I mean, it's got to be years and years and years. Does that sound like anything like that rings a bell? A large war or something, gathering of
Not
ships.
not only no, but hell no. I rolled an 01.
Okay. So I ask, and then what happened as part of the visitation? Why did they come?
Why did who
Um,
come?
the authority. I was like, what did they need to observe here?
Would you not want to see Obreve in her splendor?
No, why did Reeve visit? That's what I'm asking.
That is a matter for her to decide. Perhaps she appreciates the beauty of her creation. She has only come once to our world. This is her second visitation to yours, and you seem so unappreciative. There are many theories, though, as to why she would come. How can your people be so benighted, though, about not knowing even her name?
Reeve. Well, so they said coming in a few days. If they're I mean, I will be here as well in this temple when this visitation happens, quite possibly. So I guess I will witness it then myself. Will she be coming to, you know, this temple or somewhere else in the valley?
I am here to affix her precise destination.
Okay.
I am here to determine it so that we may build, in what little time we have, the massive seating and stands along the slopes, making sure that they're faced the correct way.
Seating in stands to observe Obreve and the
Her
authority.
passage will take, well, some say hours, some say days, but the majority of the authority will be here.
Hmm. Okay.
At the last visitation, it is recorded that there were seen very few ships of your own people, but it was assumed at that time that the word would spread more slowly, or that you did not have ships strong enough to brave the waves.
Hmm.
but our own records of the event were quite wondrous. The gleaming orb of her body, hundreds of feet across, moving majestically above the waters, her shining ridges and the rings that surround her,
Mm.
metallic and strong. She dwarfed any vessel that we had. It was, according to the accounts, marvelous.
Well, I can understand why you'd want to witness such a thing, and
Here's my spear.
I will, and I will not stop you if, as long as it doesn't, um, you know, I guess change the, will their passage change, the valley at all, or um,
It is her
affect?
valley to change. It is your life is her life to change. The oceans, the orb of light in the sky, all of that is hers to do with as she wishes.
Okay, I don't believe that. How would I don't know how Brees would like like it's weird because I'm like I obviously believe in like the established gods and like this guy's just kind of spouting nonsense, but I'm an adventurer who knows about otherworldly things, and it's like okay, maybe this is worth like seeing.
Wait, you're an adventurer who knows about otherworldly things or other worldly things?
I all both basically otherworldly things. Um, yeah. Okay. I mean, it doesn't sound like I'm going to. Oh, but here's the thing. Like, I could. I guess I could harm this guy and then stop this thing from coming if it's dangerous, right? Um,
Well, it doesn't
I
sound like he's there to guide it. It
well, he
sounds
said
like
he's going to fix the location, right? I
he's
don't.
trying to determine where it's going to be
Oh, I see. I thought he's
so
okay.
that they can build massive seating across the correct slope.
Right, right. Um, Midnight Dawn. It was 38,040 sunrises. Um, okay, so and what will you do when their passage finishes? Several days or hours after it has begun.
There will be some days of celebration, no doubt, here in the valley. Most of your food is contemptibly unpalatable to us, save these lizards. So we will bring wagons and wagons of refreshment, skiffs of food, herds of beasts into the valley for slaughter. That will feed the authority. And then, after the celebrations, we will depart.
Kind of sounds like Woodstock.
That's my name. No.
um, okay, well, I will not stop you. And in fact, I guess I say, well, then we have no qualms as long as,
Coral.
yeah, no quarrel as long as, within, um, I suppose within a month or two, this temple is unoccupied and it will be under claim of the local lord. Um, but for what happens in the next few days, um, I don't have any issue with that.
Do you speak for your lord? Are they reasonable?
And I say they are just. They're very firm, and but
Quinn, that's funny.
yeah, reasonable if you're reasonable with them. Quinn, I was saying like, hey, there's a giant one up there. You should go try to take that guy out. Mommy lizard.
Oh, how many ago? How many days ago?
Yeah,
They're not
we've
gone.
already said it. Just wait till the end of the stream and watch it back.
38,000
You
roughly,
said
right?
it like 3 times.
Yeah, 38,000. 3, 8. Oh, I am on there. 3, 8. My 8 is not working. 3, 8,000.
Just type the whole thing. 8,000. Okay.
Take me to your lord. Surely they would wish to be introduced to the authority. This is a moment of great happiness, of great honor.
Hmm. I don't. How do I want to word that? With all due respect, I think, though they are reasonable, I think their reaction will be the same as mine, if not worse, to hearing about this um, event. Perhaps this is too foreign. Um, the word of Obrive is too far gone in these lands.
Then it must be reintroduced. Our calculations show that we will merely need to cut approximately 60 acres of sloped timber
60 acres.
to clear the land and provide enough timber for shelter above the seating. As you see, we're a much taller folk than you.
How many of you are there in this valley currently?
Only myself and one other colleague. She is on the other side of the valley. She consults her Senatuk to see where the precise location. We look for signs to know exactly where to build the seating. If we build it on the wrong side of the valley, then our backs will be to a breve, and the
That'll
authority
be
will
very
not.
uncomfortable. You got to be like,
Oh, breathe me a break.
and I say, and you two will do all this work yourselves, or summon others to help you.
Some of the authority will help, but most of us are involved in holy duties. Others of our peoples will arrive. Perhaps 5 or 6,000. The authority itself is 60,000 strong,
Oh my gosh.
and more than 50,000 will appear here.
Can I get? I'm just gonna gut check for this guy. I mean, I obviously can't tell his facial expression, but right, is he telling me this all out of like, you know, that he's curious and wants me to know, or is he kind of what
Let's
is it?
start with a general vibe.
Sure, 31.
He's so alien, you just don't have a feel on him.
Oh my gosh.
He, like you, is clearly ready to fight, or it, as you,
Yeah.
is clearly ready to fight.
Right. And he hasn't put down. I will relax, my grip on my weapon, but I'll still have it in hand.
Maybe put it point down,
Yeah. I'll set it down, point down on the ground.
He takes his weapon, his object, he actually feeds it through the Senatuk and lets it go, and it just, seems to fall into the opening.
The open. Wait, but it's like a rosary, right?
No, the Senatuk are the beads. The pane, this window that he
Oh, the
opens.
windows.
So he simply feeds it in there and it disappears.
Well, that's handy.
He sort of props back on the desk, like you might when you're talking with a colleague, right? You kind of.
Yeah. Okay.
If it would be less distressing on you and serve your master, I can leave this place and continue my work elsewhere in the valley.
Um. So yeah, like I said, because if I don't have a good vibe on him, and Brise isn't really trusting, I might want him out of here. So I say that would be agreeable, just so it helps me keep track of, um, you know, cleaning out the rest of this structure here. Um, although I am curious to know how will Obreve react if uh, I guess how do I want to word this right? We're all creations of Obreve, then we share the same space with them in the valley. That won't
Her.
of her in the valley. Um, what am I trying to say? I guess I'm saying all. Let me start with this first. So all of your people are of like your kind. How are they? Were you also created by Obreve, and why do you know about them and we do not?
All
Um,
things are created by Obreve.
right.
You, your father, your mother, all things. The black bay that heaves with great fish, all things are created by Obreve. All worlds, my world, your world, the
Okay.
world of Kalataval, all worlds are created by Obreve, and she chooses to visit them by her holy will. Now, to put your mind at ease, only once in our records has her visitation ever been destructive.
Okay. I ask, and why did that happen? Do you know why?
Again, there are many theories on the will of Obreve. One might say that all of Talal was destroyed because the inhabitants were wicked, except that there were no inhabitants.
Hmm.
None of the authority that viewed that visitation were harmed, however.
Hmm.
But all lands around the visitation, as far as any authority member could see, despite how far up they flew, were turned to a molten sea of rock.
There's a 1 in 1,000 chance that the Earth could become, or Karandrin could end.
I'll just have to make another
I mean,
world.
are you going to roll that off screen?
I
Is
can
that
roll it
episode
now.
100? Oh no. Okay. What did you just roll?
Do I get a miracle roll as the game master to save my world?
I guess. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I rolled 163. So,
Well, that's right. It's not. It's got to be 1 in 1,000. So you need to
oh,
keep
that's
going.
true. Would have to be double aught, and then I'd have to roll another d10. And if it's a
Yeah.
zero,
Yeah. Then there you go.
right?
Okay. So I say, you know, I will. I would like to see this visitation. If it, if not, if I'm welcomed as a creation of Obreve. I hope.
All of her children are welcome.
Okay.
Should any of my kind attempt to stop you, merely find one of my kind wearing these vestments and point that sad creature out, and they will be cast out of Abreeb's love forever, and they will be rejected in any settlement where the authority holds sway.
Mm, okay.
There is no greater crime
Weird.
than to refuse another being, no matter how strange and unsightly. There is no greater crime than to refuse another being the sight of Obreve.
Hmm. Interesting. All right. So, um, I ask about. You mentioned there was another who follows Obrieve, a destroyer. Who is that? Who is this?
The level of this land's ignorance is staggering. I must
Here,
propose.
read this. It's like a galactic tech. It's the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. You'll understand.
Promat the Destroyer comes at the end times. But our texts and all the commentaries on it put that some 8 millennia in the future. Probably wouldn't say 8 millennia. He would probably say something like 2.8 million
Seconds.
65 times 8. Yeah, so 2.8, 2.9 million sunrises from now.
Okay, that's a good long while.
Well, start counting down the days, everyone.
Yes, and again, you know this by your I'm gonna point to his beads. The
No,
Senatuk.
no, the Cinetuk is the pain.
I keep forgetting. Senatuk's the pain. He didn't
Right.
name the
But he
beads, did
also
he?
said all their holy texts and all the commentaries.
Right, right. Holy text, right. So I said your same sources point you to that estimate as well.
Yes, that is the best estimate we have presently. I would freely give you copies of all the holy texts and the commentaries, but I would have to. I do you have a wagon nearby?
Um,
It
no.
is many stones weight. It is quite a library, but I would freely give my copy to you so that you may spread this knowledge and gain it for yourself.
Well, yeah, I don't have. Why don't you? Well, how about this? We can
Order it from
spread.
Amazon. Here's
I
my
say there's
address.
a library, an empty library in one of these rooms. You could fill that, and I could find a way to transfer it later.
I will leave you a copy here in the temple. Wow, it is quite serious about you need to know this stuff.
Yeah.
Quite
Yeah.
the
No.
well, I know the term is proselytize. What is the one who proselytizes? Is that just a missionary?
Proselytizer.
I guess.
Yeah, it's not a good word to describe it.
Yeah. If only we knew
Proselyte.
someone who was a minister. I can't think of her name. Man. Well, I don't want to strain her education.
Evangelist. Oh,
But Obi-Wan, is there a word is there a proselytizer? Have you ever heard that? Proselytizist? Like, I'm not an arsoner. I'm an arsonist. I would say prophet is a very different word. I would reject that offhanded, even with my
some proselytizers can be prophets.
yes, but I would not say. Um, I'm gonna tell
No,
people.
Karen, Obi-Wan Karen, no is not the word we're looking for.
I know that's yeah. She probably meant to type on. So sad.
Maybe she was typing something and then pressed enter too fast and then just got that happens to me a lot. Okay, So
How are
he's.
you called?
I am called Brise Ajal. Just call me Brise.
Ajal, you will have all the wisdom of my people at your fingertips. I would I would urge you to study it. For those of you who don't know, Obi-Wan just typed duck shoe, which is a great joke from the sports writer and humorist Dave Barry of, I think, the Miami Herald, right?
Yes, Miami Herald. Yeah.
And he had this great article I read ages ago where he said, "I shouted something at the referee that rhymed with duck shoe,"
Yeah.
and so every now and then, see,
Oh,
proselytizer is a word, man. Man, Obi-Wan, one day you'll be able to get into like a seminary and learn stuff about religion. One day,
this was
everyone.
actually your test to get into the cemetery, and
That's
sadly,
it. That's right.
not passed.
That's right.
You need to read the holy texts of
Uh,
Ubrieve.
right, of Galkakik.
Okay. Well, I uh, really appreciate you willing to share all this with me, and I look forward to Obrieve's arrival. Again, if you can leave the temple when you can,
And to
appreciate
think, it is veritably the eve of Obrivmas. And
it. The 25 days of
that's right. On the
12 days.
first day of Obrivmas, my towering lumpy creature gave to me.
One Schrabblabschge. Oh, you shouldn't have.
And a duck shoe. Um,
Oh my gosh. Okay.
so, um, is there, I mean, it's gonna be around. Do you
Yeah,
want a further relationship with it?
I kind of do. Yeah, and that's why I guess I don't really want him to leave the temple.
Well, no, but you can have it leave. You just
Yeah,
need to make
still
sure it
stick
can
around.
find you.
Yeah, I say, I am curious to know more, of course, about Obreve and this religion. So if, I will be here in the temple for the next couple days.
And you have a camp with a tent.
Yes, and I do have a camp. Yeah, and I'll point it out. Mention how to get to the camp from like the front of the temple. Um, and you feel free to visit, and we can speak more if you have time.
As my duties permit, I would like that. I leave you, Ajal, and wish you well. And he becomes translucent again with working a bead. Roll for me.
78.
Um, it is definitely the same bead. You're kind of like, oh, so maybe if I got that, maybe I could figure out.
Yeah,
There seems to be it's consistently used, right?
right. Each one.
Um,
Yeah.
and so he sort of strides off of the edge of the building, the edge of the floor, right, and sort of you can see deliberately gives himself a push. It's sort of like a levitate. It very much reminds you of
Yeah.
levitate. So
Yeah.
translucent and sort of leaving this trail of mist, he carries himself over, um, well beyond the garden, well over the garden, um, until he's sort of out of sight beyond the vegetation.
Okay.
I think this would be a really good spot for a break, wouldn't
I think
you?
so too. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really good. We are going to just to warn everybody. We're gonna do a slightly shorter one. We're just both kind of beat today. So we're going to do a slightly shorter stream, wrap up around 8:30 probably, where we can find a good stopping point. So we're going to run, stretch our legs, and refill our drinks. We hope you do the same, but we'll be back in just a few minutes. Thanks for hanging with us this long. There's obviously something wrong with you. And we'll be back and see what the rest of this temple holds for Brise. So bear with us.
Stick around.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Let me go grab Max out of the green room hell that he presently exists in.
oh, oh, thank God. Whew. Thought I'd never get out of there.
So, if you're just joining us after the break and after the green room hell, we just had a very strange conversation with a very strange being that we met the end of last session, and discovered that essentially it is this um, visitor from another world who believes that their god is going to visit Karandrin, this valley in particular. And after a somewhat tense standoff, Brise convinced the creature to carry its duties out further away from the temple so that Brise can go back and report that in fact the temple is unoccupied.
Right.
Um, and But possibly there'll be further conversations with this Galkakik, who this individual named Galkakik, who is here trying to calculate the arrival time and place of their god. Um, so, um,
Yeah. So I
um,
guess with him gone, we're now here in this second floor room,
we
half
are in this.
destroyed. Yeah.
Yeah, this side of the temple has taken heavy damage from rock slides over the past. Yeah, right. Obi-Wan had a great joke there in the caption, in the chat.
My
Um,
authority.
Respect my authority.
Authority.
Yeah, that's of course from South Park and dear old Cartman. All right, so let me, as usual, I'm going to be whenever we're exploring an actual building or anything like that. I'm usually pretty heavily involved in the blueprint in my illustration program, and so I won't be able to pay attention to the chat. So, Max, I'm going to pass that duty on to you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Let me make sure we are in the right
Yeah, it's
place.
quite a duty. The chat's very active today. Thanks everybody for
That's right, for
participating.
giving us grief as we always anticipate. All right, so what's your thought here? Are you going?
So yeah, I think we should traverse back down to the first floor and kind of keep scoping out there. Finish exploring there. Although while I'm here in this room, it would be good just to scout the perimeter of this room too and see if I find anything of interest.
Right, and you are here is where you are. Oh Lord, what is going on? Unlocked. What is the problem? Let me select. Okay, now why would you not let me do that before? Um, there's the desk he laid upon. It is very ornate. Um, the It's not doesn't appear to have been damaged by vandalism or anything like that.
Mhm.
When you It does seem to be in remarkably good shape. When you touch it, um, immediately you sense that it grants plus 25 runes to herb lore. Um, and all herbs harvested, trimmed, treated on its surfaces um, have a 10% chance to give the consumer of that herb plus 10 to all resistances for 1 day.
Wow.
And the herb retains that property. It has a 10% chance of gaining this property. Once it
Right.
has that property, it has the property for the effective duration for the shelf life of the herb.
Sure. Right. As long as the herb is good. Interesting. Okay.
Um, the uh, Someone has worked to pry out um, the locks and so on the drawers.
Hmm.
Um, there is evidence. Well, roll for me. I don't know.
85.
There is evidence that magical force was used either from the locks or in an attempt to open the locks.
Hmm.
It is covered in religious imagery. Um, Here it is the owl, um, very frequently referenced in the imagery.
Hmm.
Their beliefs is that the owl taught man how to farm, and there is an image of him, this or her, this owl towering over a man and plowing furrows in the ground with its talons.
Hmm.
Sort of dragging across the earth
Right.
and producing furrows, while humans
It's
stand
really
by.
cool.
Yeah, so they're pretty consistently pictured as about 2.5 times the height of a man. The eagle is typically pictured somewhat taller. Um, so you see the pictures of vineyards.
Hmm.
Um, there are some pictures that show the owl holding standing on one claw and holding a great, just heap of grapes.
Hmm.
Uh, you see barrels of wine, um, and even if you really look, and kind of blow off the dust, you can see that the barrels themselves show the mark of the owl.
Okay.
So there's a clear sort of indication, a clear sort of connection between vintners and owls, agriculture and owls, herbology, all of these sort of things.
Right. Cool. Okay. Wow, that's really nice. Plus 25. Huh. See this like I guess yeah, I do I don't know how much I know about herbs themselves. Like I guess yeah, just people at a large scale would farm them like at the temples and harvest them and then have them for sale or give them to people who need them.
Yeah, I mean, certainly the temple you were trained at, it had small gardens. The encroachment of the city prevented it from having a lot. Those lands were probably sold to make profit for the church. Um, but you knew that there were herbologists, priests whose specific role was healers,
Hmm.
and they and their acolytes would have connections to various plots of land where they would grow particular herbs for the temple.
I see. Yeah.
And so, like in times of great sickness, of course, the temples become huge medical resources, and also in times of acute trauma. people might be rushed to a temple to receive healing, either through magics or through just simply the hands of skilled healers.
Right. Okay. So we'll note that. And anything else of interest in the room?
No, I mean the walls all have imagery
Mhm.
here. The the imagery of the of Wanbray, of the Iron Empress herself, they tend to show a preference for smoke inhalation of herbs.
Okay.
Um, and so you see scenes on the walls predominantly um, of people in healing wards, just like bed after bed after bed. And they are, and she stands, towering above them, and she holds censers. You know what I mean by censer?
Yeah, yeah, the little swinging
The
over.
swinging smoke pots, right?
Yeah,
Um, and then the priests, are falling at her knees, falling at her feet, and the patients are reaching out to her, and so on. Um, but even then, the owl stands in the background.
sure. Yeah.
So it's not entirely adversarial, these relationships. Um,
Mhm.
um, there seems to be some sort of, we come together for the people kind of a sense to things,
Right, right.
um, which is
You know, I
not. So go ahead.
was going to say, religion changing over time too, or depending on the location. She is
Right,
more evil figure or ruthless figure in some areas or some eras, but
right.
not here. Yeah.
Um,
Okay, interesting.
so yeah, I mean, so there's just lots of imagery, um, a lot to take in. Um, there is here an image of Wanbray. I mean, you really would know this term probably from this era, but it's what we would call milking a serpent, right? Not like Quinn does on Saturday nights behind the dumpster at Denny's, but rather she's drawing venom from a giant serpent's fangs, larger than she is,
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
and and the serpent does look. It has a frill. The face is different. The maw is different than the creature you fought in the sanctuary,
Mm.
that flying serpent. But the frill is very similar, and you can't help but make that connection. Um, and so the story, of course, is that of only an image, but it is her, um, sort of milking this fang, that's the length of her arm,
Yeah.
and it is dripping into like a wine glass, a goblet of hers. But in the background, there is a very detailed city. I mean, you're like, if I ever saw that city, I would recognize it. It's that
Yeah.
detailed. Um, it is coastal. Um, and so it must be a city either out of legend or that had existed historically.
Yeah.
Um, Nothing rings a bell though in the details that you see.
Are
Let's
there
see
any
what.
like super distinct towers? Maybe I could.
Yeah, I'm rolling like to see.
Yeah.
So the most distinct thing about the city is that from the vantage point, and they're quite high up. Um, like they seem to be on a hilltop or something like that, looking in the distance and down to the city on the coast. It has two very broad avenues that stretch from the coast up to the inland. They
Mm.
run parallel to one another, and they either have bushes or trees in the median. It's difficult to make out, but um, The sun is not depicted, so it's difficult to tell. But surely it must. I mean, it must be on. It must be on this western coast, not
Right.
the ocean far, far to the east.
Right.
Um, so your geography is not terrible in terms of very basic geography. So um, it would have to be someplace north of the Elven states before you get any hills
Right.
that are tall enough to do that. Again, assuming the place ever existed historically
Right.
or
Okay.
still exists. Maybe that's, you know.
Okay.
So, um,
So if that's all for this room, then we can climb back down to the. Well, actually, no. We can just take the. We're at the landing, right? And we can go down the stair. Find the stairs that should lead back down to the first floor.
yes. So, as you exit this room, I mean,
Mhm.
just to let you know, there. So you are on this large. I mean, there's a wall directly across from you, but that's the wall that frames the stairway,
Mhm.
and sort of around that corner there is a closed door. It's very ornate and as ornate as this door. It's also covered in owl imagery. There's a door to your um, left. It is cracked, heavy. It's metal, and there is around and behind you. You can sort of tell from the sound of things that there is a. It opens into great space.
Mhm.
On to the right of you, there is a closed door um, that you can see on the second level. But your guess is if you were to open that door, it would just open into the air and the
Right.
rocks.
Right.
But you are at the furthest sort of edge now of the rock fall. Uh,
Right. Right.
and of course, the deeper up, the further into the temple you go on this side, the higher the rocks become. The scree pile,
Yeah.
or I should say, the pile of scree becomes. Let me move your character out of here. Oh my
Mhm.
lord! There's the whole room I moved. Yep, we love that.
Whoa.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. So I missed the full detailing of all the doors. So did any of them seem like where I think the staircase would be?
It should be. You saw it as you came up. It should be.
Right.
Yeah. So if you go out to the landing, swing around this wall directly in front of you, swing around it to the right as you
Okay.
do. Hey, look, there's the stairs going down.
Okay. There it is. Yeah. And then we'll walk on over there.
Okay.
Down
And
the
down you
stairs.
go.
We should be
Um,
back in that initial side corridor off the main corridor, the
and
double door.
then that's so great is I can just lock that and then poof, I click on the first floor. Right. So you come down and let me grab you and Nalani. Okay, there you are. So yeah, you come down. Oh man, that's right. I can't do it that way. All right. So you come downstairs. As you come downstairs, there's the double doors, of course, that you came through.
Mhm.
That leads to the foyer and so on. There's a closed door directly across from you.
Right.
Um, then further down on the closed door, um, I'm trying to think if you've been.
So I've explored all these rooms, right? The only I think there was
No, I
one
don't
room I
think. No, I
haven't.
don't think you've explored. I don't think you've explored these two rooms. Like as you came down the hallway through the double doors, okay,
Right.
there were some doors behind and to your right, and
Yes.
I don't think you've gone in those.
I have not gone on those. Okay. So I went on the ones on the left, which was the porch leading out, windows overlooking the porch. library.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was the library. You're pretty certain that was a
Yeah.
library.
Okay.
And then you sort of came out of, you couldn't open. There was a door in the back of that room that you couldn't open. You're pretty sure that rocks and the pressure of the floor above had
Hmm.
jammed it, and you came
Right.
out of that.
Right.
In fact, and
Okay.
there's a couple of rooms. There was a so you entered then the rooms not south because that's north. I got a east of that. So going toward the hill, toward the back of the temple, um, you would enter the room. That's where you found all the sleeping bags, all the gear of the Penn soldiery.
Right.
But there was a room in there that you didn't explore. The door was closed. You got distracted by sounds from the hallway
Right.
beyond.
Right. So
So,
let's go to that first, so we can kind of just finish that one off.
what do you want to do? The rooms that are directly across from
Oh,
you.
right. Those are right here. Okay, we'll do those. Yeah, we'll open up these. This first door closest to me.
Stop and listen.
Oh, and I'm gonna trade out my spear for my flail. So
Okay.
my flail, two hands. Keeping it quiet.
Okay. Yep.
Flail of fairness.
What's the bonus on that flail?
Plus 25 magic, and then plus 10 for each aggressive opponent beyond the first.
All right. I'm just gonna update your combat sheet so I just have a quick cheat sheet whenever you get in trouble. Um,
Which is often.
yes. You open it and it opens easily. Here, the swan seems to dominate the back of the room, but the Iron Empress is otherwise very well represented. Um, Here, there is a floor mosaic of the Iron Empress. She's always sort of depicted a little sexually. Um,
Hmm.
um, you keep thinking sort of the temptress and the harlot and sort of
Right.
other imagery, um, which is you find sort of unusual within your own pantheon. There's nobody
Right. Right.
that would approximate that. I mean, there is, you're particularly devoted to Oxir, and his sister is a temptress, but a temptress more toward like a witch being a temptress, right? Like I've got a
Hmm.
deal to make with you, kind of
Right.
temptress.
Power. Yeah.
Yeah. So this room is about 30 feet deep. Um, um, yeah, largely empty. But should finish my thought. The the floor mosaic depicts her standing among books.
Hmm.
And so this might be a library, it might be a study, it might be a classroom. A lot of the temples, of course, have classrooms, especially the larger temples like this one have classrooms for initiates and acolytes,
Right.
learning the stories, learning the proper rituals and devotions.
Right.
Um, that late at night, sometimes they close sanctuaries. They did at your temple, they'll close them and let the initiates go through ceremony after ceremony after, doing
Wow.
practice.
Yeah. Make them perfect. Yeah.
Um, so that they don't just do dry runs.
Nerds
That's right.
going to school. Okay. Cool.
um, in the back of it, the swan is depicted. Um,
In the mosaic or at the
no,
back?
this is on the wall in
Okay.
relief. The swan is depicted, um, seeming sort of definitely as sort of a source of knowledge, like um, sort of looming over figures in study, right?
Mhm.
Scholars with great beards, women pouring from one vial to another, and then in the background is the swan. So certainly, whereas the owl may have sort of the realm of agriculture and herbology, the swan is more academic. But another image shows also um, uh, the swan as the teacher of compassion,
Hmm.
and the teacher of romantic love. Um, they're like a boy and a young girl holding hands together, and here the swan is depicted small and reaching up to them like a life-size swan, like a to scale swan is reaching up to them and resting its beak upon their joined hands.
Hmm.
Um, but that's it mostly for this room.
Um, how is the like so far? Because Brees is interested in art and sculpture, right? These artistic depictions have these been pretty magnificent, or kind of varied, or somewhere in between?
The relief work you've liked, the mosaics you find, and you realize you've seen them here on the floor. It's just leaves and things like this have obscured them. You find it sort of clunky and not
Mhm.
well executed, or
Right,
or you have to admit maybe just not to your taste. The
right.
relief work is very well done. Um, a lot of there's clearly a lot of gilding and inlay work that has been removed by thieves over the years, and so that's marred some of the craftsmanship. But even despite that, you can see it's um, it's well crafted, the relief work.
Awesome. Okay. And then you said the room is mostly empty, right? Kind of
It's yeah entirely empty.
okay.
So there's a room right beside it.
Right. Check that one.
So go back out to the hall, and there is a room. So that you walk down to that closed door, there's a room just beyond it, 10 feet, and it is cracked.
Okay.
Oh, we get a. Where's your floating lantern? Because you're gonna need your
Oh,
lantern.
right. That will. I'll send that a little bit ahead of 10 feet ahead of me. Into the room first.
So you can glimpse into that room ahead of you that's cracked. The light spills in there. Clearly, something was nesting in there. It's a long, narrow room, um, 10 feet by 30 feet.
Okay.
And you can see there's um, still metal brackets on the wall where there was just tons of shelving. So that's probably a very large storage room. Um, one of the things that you learned in your early training at the temple was, when you've got all these people living at a temple, that's a lot of beds to keep clean
Right.
and a lot of linens and that sort of thing. And of course, they're not as fastidious as we are now with our thing, but even so, even if you wash once a month,
Yeah.
there's a lot of beds in this place. I mean, it wouldn't surprise you if this thing housed well over 100 people.
Mm. Someone
Um,
should someone should open up a laundromat and make a killing.
that's right. O'Breeves Laundry.
It's like I was at the hospital earlier today, and it's just like a city, man. There's just like 5 wings, thousands of offices and
Yeah,
beds. It's like self-sustaining. It's crazy. It's probably like a 5-star restaurant buried in there somewhere.
that's right. I would be shocked if there's a 5-star restaurant cranking out hospital food. Um,
Okay.
so go into the closed room that you're actually standing
Yes.
beside. You
Yes.
listen, no sound. You try the door; it is unlocked. Flail in hand, you open the door. Um, a lot of similar imagery from the other room, identical shape. It feels, um, and you feel like if you could walk straight through and to the back wall of this room, and I guess of the previous room, you would be in the wide hallway that would lead to the sanctuary. Does that make
Uh,
sense?
oh, I see what you mean. Like they would border the wide hallway.
Yes, the back of these rooms is the wall to the
Gotcha.
broad hallway that leads to the sanctuary.
Well, I'll smack my flail against the wall and make an entry.
Hammer away.
Okay, then good. Yeah, then we can um, go back to the last unexplored room
Right. So
Off
you go back out to the
yeah.
hallway, cross the hallway,
Right.
enter the area where we know that the desert soldiers from the Penn Nation, PENN, were stationed. Apparently,
Mhm.
this lost expedition is our best explanation for them.
Right.
And um, you enter that room, and then there's a hallway that goes deeper into the temple that you've already been down. But prior to that, there was a closed door there. I should see
Mm.
what that is. Oh, I clicked on the wrong one.
Oh, Obi-Wan, Karen says that the hospital grandfather was at a few times. There was a 5-star chef there, so
Oh, wow.
break your leg or someone's like, "I'll take me to that hospital." Like, sure, that's pretty far away. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like
Yeah, exactly.
inpatient or outpatient? Inpatient, inpatient. Lots of
Exactly. Unless you have a drive-through, in which case, let's do that.
drive-through.
Um,
Okay,
so, yeah, so
we'll
sneaky,
take a
sneaky
listen to
over there.
this. Yeah.
The door is marked heavily with the owl.
Mm.
Um, and there is a particular scene that catches your eye. It is clearly a royal woman in bed. The owl stands in her window, a life size owl, owl to scale,
Mm.
watching over her as healers attempt to bind a wound. Um, it does seem familiar to you, but you can't place it.
Mm.
Um, but the door is closed. You try it. It is locked, um, and you get just a tingling in your fingers when you touch that knob,
Ooh.
that handle, I should say. What would you like to do? I know we don't have too much longer before we want to call it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go a little 10 minutes or so. Let's. I've always had really bad luck with trying to unlock magic doors. So, is there anything I can do to kind of discern? I mean, trap lore. The spell trap lore mentions that magical traps are considered. It says magical traps may resist the spell. So it seems like it's makes sense to try to cast on this to figure out maybe what spell is cast on and what power it is. If that makes
Sure.
sense. Yeah.
Let's see
Um,
what you can learn. I mean, yeah.
yeah. Let's try it. It's level 9, so it's a bit of a hefty spell, but I think it's worth
All
trying
right.
first
Are you
time.
going to cast it at a higher level? And
Let's just do it at level 9.
okay.
See what that gets us. Yeah. So here we go. Trap lore. Cast from the tome. I should mention. Uh,
Okay.
which tome is that? Locating in lore tome. So I'll pull
Right.
that.
Okay.
And that is a 65 to cast.
All right. No problem. 9 exhaustion.
Six, 68.
The door turns translucent, and the light of your lantern falls upon it, falls through it,
Mm.
and you can see that there are brackets on the wall, and it's very reminiscent of like way back in the day. Do you remember your sort of really your first adventure exploring the last of the Hounding? Do you remember that?
Yes, yeah, I
And you're
do.
like, these brackets on the wall remind me of the same bins holding plant samples.
Yeah, those types of wood.
Um, roll for me.
83.
You're like, this must be, I must be standing in a healing ward,
Okay. Yeah,
and
that makes
this must
sense.
be herbal storage.
Right.
And the priests are kind enough to say, we won't kill you for trying to get in here because you might need something in here. And here's what we have. So you can
Oh my
see.
god, that's fascinating. Huh.
So the wood is long gone, no doubt chopped up by the soldiers, or maybe even long earlier, people seeking shelter and seeking kindling and busting up furniture and so on. So
Yeah.
no doubt this thing was loaded with bins and shelves.
Yeah.
Um, so um, you're like, no doubt, there's no reason, there's no wonder there are rooms that sort of feed off of this room, right? There's going to be herbal supplies, and you're going to have healing supplies, things like blankets, bandages, sutures,
Right.
splints, all this other kind of stuff. The hallway leading down where you followed the little lizard creature, you're like, you bet that's a healer's post where they
Mm.
basically go and sit until they're summoned, and when they hear people come in, they run down the hallway and see who's coming in, particularly if they hear cries of emergency and alarm. So this is and it's very near the entrance to the entire temple.
Yeah. Right.
So
It's really
this is your public healing area, which you're like, all right. So I mean, temple design is kind of follows sort of a similar beat, even in this culture, where it's
right.
public areas they push to the front, and of course the more official areas are in the back,
Yeah. Okay.
which means that library you were in, a couple of rooms to the east beyond the stairway,
Mhm.
that's probably the library that people were allowed to come into
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
only minimal supervision.
Right.
um, but it also means, as it occurs to you, that there's going to be a very high level healing place in here where the
Sure.
rich and the powerful get
Right.
treated. And there's going to be several high level libraries in here. A temple
Mm.
this size, there's going to be more than one, including, of course, a library of tomes if it's not already been ransacked.
Yeah. Wow. Man.
So,
Okay. Um.
so you
So
can't,
I
you
was
haven't tried to
curious.
open it, but you can
Yeah.
peer
Yeah.
into it.
So my guess is that the door turning translucent is a result of me casting magic on it. Is that?
It apparently knew what you were doing, right?
Yeah.
Trying
Okay.
to say, "Can I open you?" And it
Yeah.
said, "Here's what I've got.
Right.
If you want to open me, you're gonna have to find somebody."
Right. And so did the trap lore also reveal any info about what it will do to me if I try to force it open? Or no?
You you can tell that it's not harm,
Right.
but that's as much information as you got. There is definitely a magical defense on this door,
Yes.
but it is not to harm. So that suggests something like bind you up,
Right.
knock you out.
Teleport me away, as we've seen.
Those would be rarer, as you know from
Yeah,
the
that's
rules of
true. At a
magic.
temple, it seems kind of weird. Where
Uh,
did Jeff go? He went the wrong way. He went the. Don't open
uh,
that door. You're going to end up somewhere completely.
I mean, it could temporarily blind you. Wouldn't that be
Right. Right.
neat? I mean, you're like, oh yeah, well I'm blind for 2 hours. Let's see what trouble I can cause now.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, that's fantastic. Um,
Okay. All right. So that's this whole wing kind of explored.
yeah, sort of the section, especially
Yeah.
the healing section, seems to be done.
Right.
You didn't really get a good look at the healer's post in there because you followed the lizard out almost immediately.
Hmm.
So I leave that for your
Yeah.
consideration.
Let's go back and check that out, and then maybe that'll be a good time to end the stream, kind of
So
having
you
explored
yeah,
that
you
section.
go down and to what you believe is sort of the a healer's office of some sort.
Hmm.
Um, there's a door leading out where the of course the lizard ran out, and there's nothing but leaves and all kind of fresh stuff here. The owl is depicted here, of course. Always the Iron Empress is always prominent. Um, and roll for me.
Boom. 15.
Okay. The as you lean back on a wall, there is a soft click. A door opens up, and you recognize that you have triggered a hidden door into herb storage.
Oh. Hmm.
The brackets that you could see
Lucky
are
me.
directly across from the locked door you made translucent.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And you're like, well, of course, they could pass right through out of sight of patients.
Right.
Um, so you're a little wary, send the lamp in first.
Right.
Um, but these have been emptied long ago.
Mhm.
But curiously, the smell of various herbs still permeate the place. And there are some metal bins that remain present. Your experience tells you those are often used to keep mushrooms moist.
Oh,
But you gingerly open each thing very carefully. There's really just nothing in there. But there's very few leaves in here. This door has not been opened very many times. Um, so you sort of pass back into the healer's
right.
post.
Into the healer's post. Yeah.
The door seals behind you. It seems to detect people passing through the threshold. Um, and I don't know. I think we ought to stop there.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. Good place to.
So, well, there
Mm.
you go, gang. Um, another episode down. There's 95 in the books.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
thanks for watching and hanging out with us. Iron Temptress, that was funny. That's pretty good. Yeah, as always, we really appreciate it, guys. We will be back next Wednesday, the 14th, unless I'm very much mistaken, for episode 96. In the meantime, hop to the website and check things out there. I need to get some new articles up. I need to work on some as well. Hop the donor box if you want to send us some love. You think we're doing a pretty good job. I hope you do. I think we are. I'm pretty proud of what we've done, all 95 of our episodes. If you need to see more of Max, and who doesn't, or listen to more of Max, then you can follow him on his own YouTube channel. You'll see it right there, where he discusses the role of music in original soundtracks and video games. Thanks as always to Elliot Dunovitz for their terrific character art that we use every stream. You can find more of their work at artstation.com/Tortalua. I've written a novel called A Shore Too Far. You can find it on Amazon in paperback and ebook. I'm pretty proud of it. Go check it out. Max, say goodbye to these lovely people.
Yeah. Apologies again for the short episode. We're both tired.
We
And
are. We're just beat.
yeah, come back next week if you want to see what the rest of this temple holds in store.
That's
Hope to
right.
see
I
you
mean,
then.
we've really just barely scratched the surface. So yeah, come back June 14th on Wednesday, and we'll rock and roll more of the Temple of the Iron Empress. Thanks, everybody.
Peace.